Aloha nui kako. So again, just to add to the history, as we work on an assignment that will look about the question of annexation, the mythology of the annexation of the Hawaiian Islands, the questions over the legality, the lawfulness. In fact, the question you should always be asking yourself, there's two pieces. What is the mythology? What is the myth on how Hawaii, the Hawaiian Islands, are taken and becomes supposedly a part of the United States? By what jurisdiction and by what legal actions does this occur? So, what is the mythology? Meaning, what is the story that you might find or hear, or what would the so called state of government say? How does it happen? And then, secondly, is to use, of course, investigation research from the articles that are in the readings, also, especially in regards to Dr. Keanu Sai's work, a couple of different things I've posted up, and specifically on the work by Williamson Chang, also. I want you to use that piece. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I had some supplemental stuff, but two pieces. Well, what is the actual history? Yeah. So, what is the mythology? How does it occur? And what is the history? In other words, what are the holes that you can find in the argument on for how Hawaii becomes taken by the United States? And so, we're going to look at a few stuff here, and let me kind of just continue on. So, we to kind of again historically remember in 1898, the New Lands Resolution is pushed through Congress. It's negotiated by the Republic of Hawaii. You must remember the Republic of Hawaii forms itself after the provisional government in 1893 fails in its attempt to have Hawaii um, ceded to the United States through Governor Cleveland. That whole story that falls apart. The next formal attempt after the Republic of Hawaii is formed in 1894. And again, remember, the Republic of Hawaii comes from the provisional government who were not able to cede Hawaii. Therefore, they reformed themselves into this new organization. Well, they call themselves a government called the Republic of Hawaii. And one thing important fact to remember is that they had between 3 and 4,000 so-called citizens of the Republic of Hawaii. I repeat, between 3 and 4,000 citizens. Many of them, in fact, would be non-Hawaiian Kingdom subjects. I mean, in comparison, of course, we know that in regards to the protest petitions, the Ku'e petitions that were submitted the year before in 1897, there was roughly about 38,000 signatures that were gathered. So you can see the comparison there. Well, the United States, in preparation for the Spanish-American War, as you all should know, right? They want to use Hawaii for military necessity, the language, in order for them to refuel and for recalling in this war against Spain, and they're already planning it. And Hawaii becomes a very important asset. However, there's issues about using Hawaii as a military outpost, especially since Hawaii is a neutral country also. Um, and they failed in 1897. Remember, the actual uh, uh, attempt through the U.S. Senate to ratify the so-called treaty between the Republic of Hawaii, again, not the Kingdom of Hawaii, but the Republic of Hawaii, and the United States Senate fails, right? They failed to get the two-third required uh, supermajority to ratify. So there is no treaty. Yeah. Well, the war hawks still want to push this war with Spain. They're still trying to figure a way to use Hawaii, and so they come up with this plan. It's called, they're going to create what's called the New Lands Resolution. Again, what is a resolution? You need to understand that. What is the powers of a resolution? And which, of course, to remember, a resolution is limited by the territory of the United States. So the question, of course, goes again: what kind of power does a New Lands Resolution have in Hawaii, in a totally foreign country? The resolution is passed, simple majority of Congress, and it's actually a wartime act in a sense that they're able to get support really because the idea was for military war necessity. And it's real clear when you listen to the debates and stuff you might have read is that they knew for a fact, yeah, I'm talking about the US Congress, knew that this was not a treaty, did not have the power of a treaty, and but it was the closest that they could use in regards to show their intent. And the idea was they're going to show the intent to use Hawaii, and then at one time in the future that they would make everything legal. And that's basically there, which they never did, and that becomes the issue. So the New Lands Resolution, again, important to remember. Congressman Newlands out of Nevada pushes it forward, getting ready for the Spanish American War in March of 1898, and some things about the piece also again related to the Williamson Chang piece. I want to make sure you guys take a good look and read in that piece there I have up, and you can see the headings of his article. It's not really a long piece. It seems like a lot of pages, but a lot of it has a lot of huge footnotes. Yes, if you ever read legal pieces, Williamson Chang, of course, is the longest University of Hawaii law professor, the Richardson School of Law. Very intelligent, highly intelligent, and he examines the question over the myth of annexation of Hawaii. Little different from Dr. Sai. Yes, so if we go look back and look at Dr. Sai, and Dr. Sai is looking more at international law, yeah, the laws of occupation and so forth, and the questions over whether or not the United States had even the authority or jurisdiction to do what they did. Williamson, on the other hand, is kind of more looking at specifically United States American federal law. And so he's basically, his paper has to do with not international law, but again, according to U.S. federal law, what are the requirements, what are the powers, and so forth. It does a real good job, especially when he also looks at the Statehood Act, and that's a huge piece. Yes, remember the so-called reason how Hawaii becomes a state, and he exposes a lot of, I guess I can use the word smoking guns that show exactly that there are many issues with what becomes the Statehood Act, and of course, we therefore questioning Hawaii's in fact statehood within the United States. So some things about the Newlands Resolution. Again, just going back to the original back here. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Very short, but just to show you some of the issues that we have here from the title itself. To provide for annexing. Again, to provide for annexing. So this is a resolution. It's not a treaty now. Yeah, a resolution doesn't have a power to annex lands of another sovereign country. Again, that's the point. If this is a resolution in American civics, what are the powers of a resolution? Uh, the question you should ask yourself is, can a U.S. resolution have any effective power beyond the borders of the United States? And if it doesn't, or if it does, where does it come from? Provided information. And if it doesn't, then how, therefore, does this resolution have any effective power within Hawaii? Again, in the context of Hawaii being very clearly an independent nation state, yeah, not a territory, but an actual independent nation state. So that question of even the title, yeah. And it goes on to say, whereas the government of the Republic of Hawaii. So we're very clear that we're talking about the Republic of Hawaii. Again, who are they? How many of them? What are the legality? Yeah. How did they in fact receive consent to be the governing body, to become the government of Hawaii? Who are their citizens? Yeah. So it's the Republic of Hawaii that gives consent. Yeah. Not the Hawaiian Kingdom subjects, not the Hawaiian Kingdom, not representatives of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The question now becomes, well, if the Republic of Hawaii is making an argument that they are the government, where does their power come from? Yeah, where did this power supposedly come from to authenticate that they actually have the legal authority? And if they do, I mean, that's again very simply, where is it? What legal document? What year? But as it says, that to cede, absolutely, look at carefully. So cede, that to give away. Yeah? So the Republic is going to give, to cede, yeah, absolutely, and without a reserve to the United States of America. Okay, so what is the Republic of Hawaii going to cede? All rights. Okay, it says they're going to give all rights of sovereignty. So all rights of sovereignty of whatsoever kind. In other words, whatever kind of sovereignty it may be. That should be a clear sign that something's up with this. Yeah, so the Republic of Hawaii is going to give to the United States. They're going to cede whatever sovereignty they may have. Again, that's the question. What's up? They don't even recite. See, again, they don't recite the sovereignty they got from a certain date, a certain constitution, a certain mandate. They inherited from the Hawaiian Kingdom. I mean, where do they get? I mean, they just proclaim that they're the sovereign authority. Where does it come from? Where do they get their consent from? That's the question. So, again, when we look at the history, the historicity, yeah, and they say they give their sovereignty, well, what sovereignty are they given? And if they're going to give sovereignty, they must have gotten it from somewhere. What recognition are they talking about? So they're going to give Their sovereignty, whatever it may be, and that's the issue. And they can only have sovereign powers as they get recognized for. That's the bottom line. To cede and transfer to the U.S. the absolute fee and ownership of, again, what are they going to give? So they're going to give land, yeah, all public. Read it carefully. So the Republic of Hawaii is going to cede and transfer absolute fee and ownership. In other words, the Republic is going to give their ownership of whatever kind of sovereignty they might have and ownership of all public, government, or crown lands, public buildings, edifices, ports, harbors, military equipment, and all other public property of every kind of description belonging to the government of Hawaii. Again, so the Republic of Hawaii is going to cede sovereignty of whatever kind, going to give whatever kind of ownership they may have in all, as they list here. Now, you notice, yeah, be careful. They don't list the name of the lands. They don't tell you what islands. They don't say, for example, we're going to give you Maui, because if they say they're going to give Maui, the question is, well, where did they get the authority of Maui? So they list a bunch of stuff, but they don't exactly say, they don't give no meets and bounds. They don't give any kind of title. They don't give any kind of record exactly what they're describing. All they say is, whatever sovereignty we have, whatever title we have in these buildings that belong to the, again, government of the Hawaiian Islands, what government of the Hawaiian Islands? And if they receive title to that, what are they talking about? The provisional government? Are they talking about the Hawaiian Kingdom? And if they're talking provisional government, when did the provisional government get title? For example, let's use Iolani Palace, right? If Iolani Palace was transferred, when did they inherit title to inherit Iolani Palace? And more specifically, when they recite their title history, what instrument are they talking about? But you see the language again, the government, they just kind of make it appear like there's, well, what government are you talking about? In Hawaii, we have the county governments, we have different bodies, we have the state governments, the different kind of powers they all have, but they don't say together with every right of, but again, they're going to give you the sovereignty, whatever it might be. They're going to give you title to the land, whatever they may have. The problem is they do not recite what lands they are given. And I want you to be clear. When you are to look and investigate and you look at other so-called states that were incorporated or became territories, you'll see exactly there's meets and bounds. They're talking longitude, latitude. They'll name the lands, they'll name the rivers, the mountains. None of that is here. And the question is, of course, why can't they say, for example, why not just say Iolani Palace? Why not just say they're going to give Maui, right? If Maui is part of this, why not say Maui? Because now they would have to show how they own title to Maui. You see, this is the point. It's like if I said this, and I said, I give you whatever sovereignty I have over Kaho'olawe, whatever interest I have of Kaho'olawe, I'm going to sell it to you for a dollar. Now, the question, of course, any fool will recognize, well, what title do you have on Kaho'olawe, Kalekoa? And if you have title Kaho'olawe, then you would say Kaho'olawe. I would say probably how I received that title, how I received the land, what gives me the ownership of the land, who I inherited from. But the fact is, none of that is here. And there's a reason for it, and Williamson Chang talks about it. And that's the big point. A couple other things that you'll find in the Newlands resolution. Again, I'm just cherry picking certain things. We don't have time to go through everything, but just to see that there are key problems with the reciting of this story. Yeah, that if the Newlands resolution annexed Hawaii, well, the first hump you have to figure out is, how does a resolution have that power? How does it have power beyond the territory of the United States? And in the United States Constitution, does a resolution have that power? And you'll find no. As it goes on to say here, yeah, that said cession is accepted, ratified, and confirmed, and that the said Hawaiian Islands and their dependencies be, and they are thereby annexed as part of the territory of Hawaiian Island. Again, when you look at it, you notice again, it doesn't describe. Yeah. And so these are the kinds of issues that people will talk about over and over. Another chapter, so besides 1898, and the next big um, document, you could say, let's call the I'm sorry, misspelling, the Hawaiian Organic Act. So the Organic Act of 1900 is passed by the Congress, as you can see, in April of 1900. Its main purpose of this bill is for the United States federal government to set up their government in Hawaii. How are they going to govern Hawaii? So the Organic Act is the basis for what creates the territory of Hawaii. How the territory, the federal government of the United States is going to rule and dominate Hawaii. So you can see chapter 339 and act. Again, this is an act. The question is again, when did this act have authority? From when? When does the United States have authority in Hawaii? And that's a good question to ask. When does it start? With the provisional government? With the Republic of Hawaii? With the Newlands Act? With the Organic Act? Where does the United States have this authority? Yeah. And if they do, like I said, what is the date and what is the legal instrument? And in fact, what is the story? What is the narrative? Yeah. So the Organic Act sets up the territory, but there's some key issues here we should take a good look at. And let me just kind of read some of the stuff here. Section 1, that the phase, the laws of Hawaii, as used in this act, without qualifying words, shall mean the constitutional laws of the Republic of Hawaii. So they're talking Republic of Hawaii again. So they're starting off the Republic of Hawaii. Now you notice, historically, where does the Republic of Hawaii has its power? Where did it get it from? Does it own any land? And if it does, how did it get ownership of those lands? By what document? By what year? And now it goes, so the Organic Act goes back to the Newlands resolution we just looked at. There were issues there already. Yeah. But it says here, sorry, let me just go back. The laws of the Republic was enforced on the 12th day of August, 1898, at the time of the transfer. So again, at the time the transfer the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Islands. So they say that, but the point is, when did the Republic of Hawaii even have the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Islands? Again, I'm asking when to then for be able to even transfer something to the United States. And if they do, what is the document and in what year? And so again, those are the questions. The second part, I want to do a couple of things here. Section 2 and especially section 4. And I'll just look at it here. But let's look at this, right? And this is what it says. Again, this is the official federal government. This is what it says. Section 2. That the islands acquired. Okay, what islands? You notice again that the islands acquired by the United States of America under an act of Congress, so the joint resolution. This is the 1898 one again. So, what islands? It doesn't tell you what islands. It doesn't say Maui, Hawaii. It doesn't list the name of the islands. It doesn't give you meets and bounds. It doesn't talk about longitude, latitude. It doesn't give you any um, exact, direct explanation of the lands. Now, this is very important. Williamson Chang will talk about this in his piece. When you were to study other so-called states and territories who are incorporated United States, I mean, they're very clear. They'll talk about from this river to that mountain to this point and longitude, latitude. They're very exact on what they're talking about, right? If I was to buy land from you, again, think about this. If I'm going to buy land from you and you're selling me your interest in land, and you tell me, oh, I sell you all my land on Kaho'olawe, well, and you don't tell me where this land is, how you got the land. I mean, you can already see there's issues. There are huge issues. Yeah, so this is part of what Williamson Chang is talking about. So they talk about lands. They said that islands acquired. Again, the question is what islands were acquired via a joint resolution from the Republic of Hawaii? What islands are you talking about? And the next thing, so there's question. Yeah, what is the lands we're talking about? The sovereignty whatsoever over these lands. Which lands? It doesn't say. And then Williamson Chang talks about is that they did it on purpose, you see, because they couldn't, there was no way. Again, if they were to say Maui, then they would have to recite how the Republic of Hawaii got title to Maui. Right? Citizenship. This is probably the key element. I want you guys to read this carefully. Citizenship. Section 4. That all persons, okay, persons. Now, if you look carefully, all persons, it doesn't say subjects, it doesn't say persons mean humans. All humans who were citizens of the Republic of Hawaii. Listen, look at that carefully. All persons who were citizens of the Republic of Hawaii. Again, how many citizens? Remember I told you guys? Between 3 and 4,000. That's it. What about the rest of the thousands and thousands of so-called Hawaiian subjects, including immigrants who had come to these islands? All persons who were the Republic of Hawaii, if you were a citizen of the Republic of Hawaii on August 12th, 1898, you declare to be citizens of the United States, right? So Republic of Hawaii willfully give their consent to become citizens of the United States and citizens of the territory of Hawaii. Now the question, of course, is what about the rest? The 90% of other people in Hawaii. For example, my direct ancestors, when did they become so-called citizens of the United States, right? What year? Now, the narrative is people going to say, oh, yeah, according to the Organic Act. Where does it say that? Again, look, my kupuna were never citizens of the Republic of Hawaii. I repeat, my kupuna, when does the Hawaiian subject citizens become citizens of the territory of Hawaii? See, the only thing is going to understand international law is that you cannot forcibly change or transfer someone's citizenship, right? Especially if you're talking, in other words, a Canadian could not pass a law in Canada telling United States citizens that you are now Canadian citizens without their consent. It doesn't work, right? The United States cannot tell people in Iraq they are no longer Iraqi citizens. They are not therefore now American citizens without the Iraqi citizens' full consent and participation. It doesn't happen. So it says, and then it also goes, and all citizens of the U.S. resident of Hawaii. Now, if you look at it carefully, that's it. So all citizens of the U.S. who were in Hawaii that date, all Republic of Hawaii citizens who were here in Hawaii that date are now citizens of the U.S. What about everybody else? And this is the point. It's never addressed. And you must ask yourself, why isn't it addressed? Because you cannot force, there's no legal mechanism to forcibly change someone else's citizenship, right? Their national identity. So the question remains for Hawaiians today. If I was to ask this question, and I have, and I'll do a real quick story. I had a many years, not many years ago, maybe a dozen years ago. I was at a big meeting, some Hawaiian Homelands meeting. Anyway, one of the Congress people, Senator Hanabusa, who was a Hawaii State Senator, President of the Senate, UH Law School, um, very intelligent, went up to Congress. She comes back to Hawaii and she's kind of trying to organize some work with Hawaiian Homes. And I'm at this meeting and she's trying to convince Hawaiians basically to make some changes in federal Hawaiian Homelands Act law so Hawaiians can be kind of the best way to describe it to be counted like American Indians, Native Americans in their federal American Indian law. Anyway, so many Hawaiians are kind of saying this doesn't make sense, and especially when you look at history and so um, anyway, eventually it came down to the point people wanted me to ask, and I asked Hanabusa, and I said, can she tell me, as a lawyer, as an attorney, former speaker, president of the Hawaii legislature, as a congressperson, obviously a legal mind, can she tell me in what year and by what legal instrument did Hawaiian subject citizens become U.S. citizens? And the truth is, she couldn't answer. And that's something perhaps you guys can talk about or think about. Yeah. And I'm going to stop there, but I want you guys to make sure take a look at Williamson Chang's article. Um, and these are the arguments for the next assignment that's going to come up. There are two things. Yeah, using all the reading, especially if what is the story? In other words, I'm not telling you to go look at Wikipedia. I don't want you guys copying Wikipedia, but you should do the narrative yourself, right? If you're gonna be writing you're gonna be writing a short, not an essay, but a short kind of story narrative. Yeah, this is the story of how Hawaii becomes a part of the United States and how so-called Hawaiian subject citizens become U.S. citizens. Some kind of story. What does it say? What is the story, the narrative? Well, what is the historical fact? What are some of the issues in the history that challenges this so-called narrative? And in fact, in other words, what would the arguments be to show why, especially Native Hawaiians or the Hawaiian Islands, are not part of the United States? Where does that argument come from? Yeah, so you have the two main, not just readings, but many videos I had posted up also. That's, the words and work by Dr. Keanu Sai and David Sai, and also that piece by Williamson Chang. I want you guys to watch. So, okay, moving on, get ready for the assignment that we posted up. Aloha nui.